Hey, Crista Hopp.
Hi, Seth. How are
Welcome to
you?
TEFOS. I'm good. I'm great. Welcome to TEFOS, our seventh year, and welcome to you parents, teachers, therapists, anybody who's interested in supporting kids with executive function challenges. This is one of our amazing speakers, Crista Hopp, and Crista is an executive function coach, ADHD coach. This is your site here. I want to ask you, what parents are going to learn at TEFOS this year?
I'm talking about asking for help, but asking for help just seems so simple, doesn't it? But the reality is that there's usually this emotional piece that's attached to asking for help. So we're going to talk a little bit about that emotional piece, a little bit about the executive functions that are actually either impacting that skill or playing a part of that skill. And then individuals will leave with a couple of scripts that they can also use with their students when they have some negative self-talk that might be attached to those emotional things that are, part of this process.
And when a parent comes up to you and says, I keep hearing about this executive function thing, Krista, what the heck is that? How might you respond to that?
I probably would say, technically, it's these cognitive skills that we use to reach a goal that are located in the frontal part of our brain. But that's really the simple way to kind of explain something that's really complex. And most of the time, you're going to hear that planning, time management, and organization are the executive functions. But those are actually advanced executive functions. And so in order to do those advanced, we have to have these foundational executive functions in place. And those are regulation, which is our ability to control our thoughts and actions, attention, cognitive flexibility, our ability to think about things in more than one way or see a different perspective, and then working memory, our ability to take in information, manipulate that information, and do something with it. And I'm using that right now because as I'm talking to you, I'm keeping in mind what I'm going to say next, and I'm holding it there while I'm still talking. And so that is what executive function is. And so it is something that's a little vague because a lot of people will say, oh, there's 10 executive functions, or there's 6 executive functions. And there's actually no set number of executive functions, but it is these important skills that often we're not taught that we have to use every single day to get through our day.
And for the parent who's brand new to you, can you tell us a little bit about you and your background?
Sure. So I've been working with students for over 30 years. I started off working in residential facilities for kids that were dually diagnosed. They had both cognitive challenges as well as mental health diagnoses. And then when I was in my graduate program, I have a master's in counseling psychology. I worked under a neuropsychologist as an intern for this amazing research study where we were looking at the differences between kids that were born preterm versus full term. And anyways, it does play an important part of my history because that's where I learned about executive function through that research study. And I think that's really important to mention because often, no matter what our education is, we're not taught about executive function. So it wasn't until I became part of that research study and I worked under a neuropsychologist that I actually learned about it. And that's actually what drove me to open up a coaching practice because I was seeing so many parents frustrated or not knowing what to do because their kids had executive function challenges, but they didn't have a diagnosis. And so for me, it was so important to make sure that there was a place for kids who had executive function challenges, but do not necessarily have the diagnosis to go along with it. And so that's when I opened Connected Pathways Coaching about 11 years ago. I now have 6 other coaches that work under me. And last year I opened up Connected Pathways Academy, which is a program where I train educators, teachers, tutors, therapists, coaches on how to become certified executive function strategists. It's not just learning the tools, it's learning the science behind the tools.
Yeah, we are similar in that way. Parents, people are doing such amazing work out here. Krista is one of these people that's doing amazing work. So please support these people, these servants, these people that are doing cool things in the world to help. This is your site, connectedpathwayscoaching.com. And we are at, if you haven't registered, for all of you out there, this is executivefunctionsummit.com. This is our summit that is coming up. And we would love to have you join us. And you can sign up right here on the site. And Krista, thank you so much for being here. And parents, thank you for being here.